I need a haircut quite badly. Yeah, I was meant to get one in December, but here we are. Possibly until March now. But hey, how are you? You well? So imagine a world where you've got you've got hip hop, you've got Bhangra, you've got Bollywood, and you've got sort of underground dance music, all in a Venn diagram. And in this quad circular Venn diagram, right in the middle, is this week's badass guest, DJ Rekha from New York. Now, Rekha is responsible for my first ever New York gig many years ago. I think 2002. And it was quite a trip. I must have been about 20, how old was I then? 21? No, that's not right. 22, 23? Well, anyway, I was a dickhead nonetheless. And Rekha sort of ran this night called Mutiny, which was flying the flag for weird or underground sounds from brown people. And they very gracefully opened the stage to me and to Ash, who was promoting a night called Swaraj that I was sort of the DJ of, or one of the DJs of. And yeah, without Rekha, I don't think I would have experienced New York quite as I did. And here they are. Rekha's in the house. Let me just find Rekha and request some friendship. There you it. Easy. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? My head cut
Good.
off.
A little too up close, I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
I like the bookshelf behind you. That's quite.
Yeah,
that's quite...
you know, it's a little staged, but it's real.
Look at that. I mean, this wall is real. But then it became
These are
more
real
staged.
books, and they're a lot of my friends.
I wish that was real Prince.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be weird having Prince's severed head behind you hanging off a wall. That'd be pretty fucked up.
That would be a little strange. Yeah.
That is cool. I can see Tanuja's book behind you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good one.
Hey.
What else we got? We could go down the list. I got Bushra Rahman's book. I got Fariha Rosen's book. I got Sayub Bujwani's book. It's a book on reggaeton. Rajinder Dudra's book on Bhangra.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I have to show you guys. There's a distinct
lack of Brits there. There's no Nick.
No. It's like Patte Chak there, right? So they have the floorboards.
That is
pretty
wicked.
Cool.
That is wicked.
Yeah, and it was part of an exhibit, Five Rivers. They had a Five Rivers exhibit in the UK, a couple of places, I think Birmingham and London, and then we did a version of it here in New York.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That kind of actually ties in nicely to how we actually first met, which was at Mutiny, which was talking about sort of mirrors from London or from the UK to New York. That's kind of exactly what it was, right? It was like a reflection and its own crew and its own scene in the US that kind of was a contemporary of what we were doing. Or in fact, what people before us lot had been doing.
Well, yeah. So I think Mutiny, the club night started out as a fundraiser for Mutiny the movie, basically. And it was very much inspired by the music that was happening in the UK. And a lot of that was, all the artists from Anoka, Sam, State of Bengal, even Outcast Records, which, let's not talk about the label, let's talk about the artists on the label, like Badmar Shri, even Nitin Sawhney. And unfortunately that generation of music gets lumped into different categories of genre, though musically they're very disparate in so many ways, including, it's just it's more about, it's that time of day, hey? What are you drinking, man? What are you drinking?
You know what? We can't. It's really difficult. Old Forester bourbon, which is really hard to find in the UK. But it's dirt cheap and really delicious. So I'm like, yo, wicked.
Yeah, I found drinking in the UK it's not fun.
Really?
Well, I just remember going to club nights and there being just Jack Daniels.
See, you know what?
Maybe that was just sort of the more rough and tough places, man, you guys really measure your drams out, and then you don't tip your bartender. So when I tip, they're giving it back. It's a different culture.
I remember. I actually distinctly remember, right, on landing in New York, and you've just sent me down this. It's been really nice actually, sort of thinking about music and stuff, which I'll get to. But memories going back to 2002. and looking at my old diaries and stuff and figuring out exactly when I went to New York and how much of a dickhead I was at that stage, because I was young and a dickhead, and I was just like, yo, proper dickhead action was, it was all out. And I went
Were you a wanker, Nerm?
I still am a complete wanker. What are you talking about? I'm no less
one of my favorite
now.
British words.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, let's be honest, we're all wankers, really. But I think that at this stage in New York, particularly at that time, I was like peak dickhead. It was awesome. Like 23, flying around the world. Still in this band and DJing, like full peak dickhead. And you gracefully opened up the stage to Swaraj, which was Ash's night, and then me to coming on to DJ.
I mean, gracefully, or we were like aggressively solicited. It's another way to think of it.
Well, bless Ash. I mean, thank God, because we had a fucking ball.
I just remember, like, it was like, and it was never reciprocated, but that's another story.
Well, there you go.
Which, is wankerism, I guess.
Enough beef right there. There you go. Well,
who cares? I don't care anymore, but
I appreciate it.
But back to Mutiny. So just to set it up for the 13 people that are engaged in this conversation, Mutiny was a club night. It started as a fundraiser for a film, a documentary, Mutiny, Asian Storm, British Music. And it just became its own thing. And it was inspired by the generation of second gen, what we would call second gen musicians in the UK, creating their own sounds and, with influences from their heritage. And that's as clean as a definition. And then, there's different factions and and it's very much outside of what is sort of dominant musical awakening in the second generation, which would be the Bhangra Punjabi music scene in the UK. So it's anything that's not that, but not necessarily that separate from that in some ways, I would.
Well, that was it. I mean, when I discovered, thanks to you, when I discovered the Deep and his music, and he was resident alongside Anjali and Zaka at your night, I was just like, holy shit, this is Punjabi music taken in a whole different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think for me, growing up in I was like really fucking working class as a kid growing up. Obviously, things have changed, thankfully. I'm very blessed. But growing up in Birmingham, which is like, a pretty roughneck place and a roughneck area of that place, and looking the way I do, like the kind of aggressive overtones that came along with more like traditional Bhangra or hip hop was something that I was just like, yo, that's not a South Asian culture that I really relate to. So anything different to that was like a fucking godsend. So then hearing the Deep's music was like, yo, this is a whole other fucking take and a reinterpretation of like the Punjabi essence, his own skills as a double.
But you did have that. That's true. But TJ Remy also reps that hard.
That's true. But again, that was underground. That wasn't particular.
That was underground, and he played in a bunch of Bhangra bands too, as did Talvin Singh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, TJ
and Swami
Remy
as well, obviously, as well. So Simon and Diamond producing like a
Diamond of Simon Diamond.
Yeah.
I mean, Diamond as a producer is just across the board, like different, like can do or make anything. That stuff. In fact, I remember that night at Mutiny, somebody playing like some of the Swami stuff. I think Vivek used to play that record too. Was one of. Whatever. It was a lot of Punjabi folk stuff electronified.
Yeah. Totally.
So that was Mutiny, and I think you guys actually were probably at one of the last ones, because what's very weird to think that Anoka was only 2 years.
It's It's
I
really
mean, I was
weird.
talking to Sweetie about it. I'm like, holy shit, that party was only around for 2 years. And I think of Basement Bhangra, which is my other night, 20 years. Mutiny, 6 years.
Yeah.
6 years, Mutiny. And, 98 to 203. Is that even 6 years? No, 97 to 203. To 2003. And, so that was just like, you guys, I remember Filter 14, sort of the tail end of our nights there. That party had jumped around so many venues.
But I think going back to how this conversation started, and me being a dickhead in New York for the first time, was going into a bar.
I don't remember that.
That's
I remember you wore a very thick necklace that was very beaded.
Yeah, and makeup and stuff. I was quite flamboyant in those days. It was quite fun. And I was young enough and a dickhead enough to get away with it. But I remember going into a bar and then like asking for like a drink and them free pouring, and I was like, wow, I like this place. This is fucking dope. So yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, God knows I haven't been to a bar in this year, so who knows how they pour drinks anymore. What are drinks?
Well, this is it. This is why I'm drinking at home with a buddy every week, and thank you for
I'm just drinking coffee because it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon here.
It's not that time just yet. You've got another 25 minutes.
And the thing about drinking, which I'm dealing with, is like I'm a social drinker. I like to be out and about. I like to move when I drink. Sitting at home and drinking is different. It's too much for me. I can't handle it. When I DJ, I need a drink for sure. And then it's movement. I'm in it. I believe it enhances my performance. I do not know if it does. But I can't just chill and drink. Though we did do it the other night, and I paid the price.
Oh yeah?
I got kicked out of bars for dancing. I drank the juice. Gotta be sweet. I don't know who that was, but yes, kicked out of bars is not a good look.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what, that's the thing I missed. I was gonna get onto this later about like sort of streaming and stuff like that, but I guess we're here now.
You miss getting kicked out of bars?
Yeah, fuck yeah. And also, not only that, but like I miss getting fucked up while I'm DJing. And then I always have this kind of thing where I drop off my gear at some safe house of friends or my place or wherever I'm staying, and then out into the night, and whatever happens, right? I just run off into the night, and it's just loads of fun. And then the first couple of times I did streams in the studio, I was all geared up and like the adrenaline's pumping and you're mixing and you're just like fucking there. And then you stop it and you're like, shit, it's just me alone in a fucking room shaking because of all the adrenaline. Like,
yeah, it was.
What the fuck?
Well, I mean, the first time I streamed, I did it for the launch of Never Have I Ever, this TV show on Netflix. Purna, like, basically, props be to her. I knew I needed to stream. I was thinking about it. I'd gotten a monitor speaker. I had a controller that I was like, looking into the gear. I was being very leisurely about it. And then all of a sudden it was like, this thing's happening. And I had to learn real fast. And, everything was sold out. All the gear to make your phone. Because, like, if you just, you can't just do room sound with IG. It's terrible. It sounds like shit. So all the roll and goes were sold out. I was on the phone with B&H. We're trying to do all these like ridiculous like workarounds, buy a Tascam recorder and do this and get it. Luckily, my shop, Eddie Stats hit me to this, found this really archaic device made for like PCs about how to convert a signal.
Yeah.
And at $25.
An attenuator cable.
I don't know what it is. It's like, it's got like, RCA, female RCA, I hate the gendering of cables, the female RCA, a USB, then you put the USB into an Apple thing and it goes into whatever. It works.
Oh, wow. See, I kind of hacked together a little patch that I worked out.
People were hacking and
and
somehow I got that, and God
awesome.
bless.
Yeah.
And it worked. And my brother, Raj Makija, cooked by Raj, walked me and teched me through the whole thing.
Wicked.
So, so like it was amazing to do that.
I mean, that party felt fucking great because it was like all of our friends piling on the launch of another friend's fucking show that was smashing it on Netflix. And then it's another friend, you, playing the party. It was like, yo, this is fucking dope. It was so much
weird
fun.
Because it was like London crew, Bombay crew, LA crew.
It was
crew. It was crew on crew. And all these people, I mean, you more so because I think you travel more to India back and forth than I do. It was like the people I hang out with, whatever city I'm in, whenever we're in the same city. Like, our mutual friend, of course, Monica Dogra. Yeah. Our biggest mutual friend. Like, we're not in the same town and not trying to hang out. That just doesn't happen.
100%. 100%.
Like, that's like the first call. That's almost the first call, Yeah. So,
yeah, totally. And that's what makes like running off into the night in those cities fun, because you've got that kind of global fam that's going to be there. And it was fucking lovely to see them on your stream for this show. It was dope.
It was all Purna. Like she was sort of the glue that brought all these people together. She was she figured out the science of time zones and optimal timing that would make it work for LA through India.
Yeah.
She got everybody to like get on at the right time. You know, it was great. And then I kept doing it.
Yeah.
Until I took a break, which I'm still on break, which I keep saying I'm going to unbreak, but I haven't done that yet. But I'm
that was it.
thinking about it, peoples.
When lockdown hit, like I did like a sort of daily, like when it first hit in March in London, at least, I did this kind of daily thing just because I was like, fuck, no one's got anything to do. And it just got too much. So I decided to just keep myself sane by doing these chats. Also, it's less fucking effort. I just pour a drink and talk to a friend. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
right.
It's like that rather than sort of, have I played this before? It's not like, you know, and also, like I said, the kind of instant turn, like come down of pressing stop on a DJ stream still fucks with me. I'm just like, I can't get all keyed up, man.
I really get upset. And that's why, like, I got tired of getting shut down. It was really frustrating. Yeah. And then also, like, you know, the
copyright strikes as well.
Oh, it's terrible. I don't like it. I don't like to not do it the right way.
Yeah, totally.
So even with Twitch, which is like, they're not going to take you down when you're doing it. They're going to just like mute you after. And they're definitely playing that game of like, let's get a lot of people on. And then it's in your terms of service, but we're looking the other way. But it's like SoundCloud. It's like, you know, in the beginning, they're looking the other way and then they decide to, you know, implement it when they feel like it.
Or when they have to, when they're forced to, essentially.
Right. So, I mean, I think there's a potential for another way. Like the technology, I mean, IP is just, it's a power joke. You know, it's like who owns what and how do we do it and who gets the monetize. Like it's a larger conversation.
Yeah, totally. I think Mixcloud are making headway in that. I just wish they'd create a video platform that's plug and play rather than having to use another, like, a chain of services, because they've got their back end legally sorted out in terms of Mixcloud.
Yeah, no, I've also been thinking and exploring on Mixcloud, but it's not good on the user side as much. I want it to be, because I really think like that's the right way to do it. But you have to sign like it. You're not going to get I haven't done it yet, stream wise. I used to listen to a couple of DJs on it. And,
well, I think a video stream, a built-in video stream be fucking awesome on Mixcloud.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully if people want to you can build anything if you want, if the will is there.
Yeah.
You know?
That is very true.
And I've worked at tech companies and I know, like if the will is there, people can do it. So, yeah.
Well, I think the positives of it were that the party you did, and that sort of helped, like really kicked off some shit, because I think then loads of people started doing it, because it was very early on during that lockdown stage.
It was April 26th.
Right.
And so it felt early. It still was in New York anyway, in Jackson Heights where I live. It was still like super lockdown. It was very, I mean, to live on a very noisy, busy street and to hear pin drop silence is very eerie.
Totally.
Except for ambulances, which were nonstop.
That's really unfortunate.
I mean, that's what all we heard here was like ambulances, and now we're back to fighting over parking spots. Which is a sport.
Which you end up looking forward to after all that shit. You're like, I can't wait to fucking fight.
I don't ever look forward to that shit, and no, that's terrible.
So listen, I wanted to ask you this because I still don't know how you ended up in Jackson Heights from the very start. Your whole story, because I read somewhere that you were born in fucking England. I was like, what?
I was born in fucking England.
What the fuck? Where were you born in England?
West London, mate.
Where?
Middlesex Hospital, ironically.
No way.
Yeah, we lived in Hounslow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I never knew that.
I'm a diasporic cliche in itself. I was born in West Middlesex Hospital, London. My parents lived there. The first place we moved in America was Bushwick, so I'm the original hipster. And now I'm on to being in my third gentrified neighborhood. which is Jackson Heights. Because
I thought you were going back to your roots, man. That's what I thought. Jackson Heights was like a roots
And I lived
choice.
in India as a kid. It was the fashion at the time. Though my parents say it's the worst decision they ever made. I was sent to India at 10 months and lived there till I was almost 3. So I have like first language, Punjabi, Hindi, like raised by grandparents.
Right.
And then back to England. And eventually we moved here to the States. So my parents came here in 76.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
Wow.
old. I'm old.
Wow.
I'm elder-ish. Yeah. So we've been here for a long time now. So it's like, so many years.
I just never knew that UK connection. It kind of flew me because I think there's in my head.
Really, I try to exploit the shit out of it on my bio. Maybe I changed it up.
I
British born. I love to say that. It sounds cool. And then for a long time it was Brooklyn based, but I'm not in Brooklyn anymore.
Yeah, I wore my Basquiat tee just because I thought, I'm talking to a New Yorker, and now she's just fucking one of you.
Is that the Keith Haring one? Can we see it a little bit?
No, it's the collab, like this the collab with the skateboarding company that was recent.
Okay.
It was like a recent thing, but yeah. But I thought, you know what, I'll represent New York, but I should have fucking represented Hounslow by wearing like gold chains and shit, and fake Versace t-shirts. No, I should have worn my Versace t-shirt.
I bought a great bag. I don't know what I bought a great bag in Hounslow. Not in Hounslow, South Hall. It had the Kandar on it, like the sick, It was a record bag. It was dope.
Nice.
I don't know what happened to it.
Nice. I'm sure there was that whole period we can get.
There was just one store in that sold those bags. That was great. I got a lot of records from Broadway, South Hall over the years.
Nice. You and Bobby have got a lot in common then, in terms of your South Hall connect.
Bobby separated at, if anything, there's a lot of common connection there.
I mean, actually, again, about that. So your whole story getting there and talking about sort of having a foot in the underground world with Mutiny and also representing Bhangra. And that's quite unique. And I'm talking about Bobby doing that as well. Like there's only a few artists that can do that. And you're among them. Link those worlds.
No, he's the only one that was never apologetic for liking Bhangra, and me too. And I think it definitely hurt me in so many ways. Like, it's like, like when I went to India the first couple of times, they would just like dismiss me because they only thought of me as Basement Bhangra, NRI, Bhangra, what is that? And then you've got, one of Nuclear's biggest hits is Longo Acha, right? It's like, we on the Mutiny film, you have Talvin Singh saying, I don't know, it's not really my thing, and da-da-da. Then he makes a track called Mustard Fields, It's like, make up your mind. And then, pundits, also like...
Bhangra Fever, but that's Delhi, like...
Yeah, Delhi Swings, Ajay Naidu doing the intro there. And, no, I mean, it's... Yeah,
I think that's a very... I think it's fascinating. There's a two sort of fold thing here, which I think changes over time. The first for me was, like I said, something different that represented my heritage in a new way, apart from this kind of music that had this toxicity around it in a way. And then as that evolved, it suddenly became really fucking snobby, right? And there's that snobbishness that then led to sort of being like dropping a Bhangra tune or a Bollywood tune or something years later in a club that said, don't play this, was again a form of rebellion, So,
what do you mean by snobby, and in what context?
So as a DJ, like, I was quite territorial musically because that's my passion, right?
Same.
So I'd be like, I represent the underground shit and fuck all that mainstream shit. Like and then as things got on, I became softer and I was just like, actually mashing shit up is kind of fun, right? And then years later, when sort of like stush or shishi clubs adopt that policy, wherever they are in the world, whether in the States, in the UK or the US, or fucking India, I mean, States and US, there's like a no Punjabi policy, no Bollywood policy, and I'm just like, fuck these people. I'll play this as like kind of another, like, another form of punk, another form of fuck you.
It's almost like the most mainstreamy of Desi music becomes rebellious, and it's all about context.
Right.
I played at Blue Frog, and it was funny because I also was trying to do the different set, the underground, whatever, the like dance music, not that. And then I had all these people that used to go to Basement who were in India, and they were like, what the fuck is this? You know? It's like I had people come out, and then same thing with Grime Riot Disco. You know, I've played it.
Big up GRD, big up Canal, big up Monica, big up. I love GRD. It's my favorite party in Bombay.
Oh, the party is amazing,
dude. I've got so many stories about that.
So much fun. I've only spun it twice, but it's just always been a rip. And you know, like you want to do things musically in context. You know, it's like it has to make sense. Like
so what
that
did you
night,
play at GRD then?
I did. I played a few.
No, what
twice.
did you play?
Oh, what did I play? I played a lot of hip hop.
Mm.
I played a lot of dance hall. And then I played a lot of like, not a lot of Bhangra, but like Bhangra that was not straight, not head on. It was very dance hall-y, which is my favorite kind. Dance hall-y, maybe some like weird like remixes, just some like off tunes, you know, like I still have that crate, you know?
Yeah.
GRD crate. And yeah, I mean, and that's fun. I played a lot of hip hop. It was funny at the end of one of the nights. I don't know what I was playing because by the end of the night, God knows, you know, it's like
it's all a haze, and you're like, yeah,
it's definitely a haze. And then this I forget who it was, some Gora DJ. He's like, "Can I get on the last track?" I'm like, "No, bro, you cannot. Seriously, no. You want to like close it out for
you know what I mean?
Reason?
Take
I'm playing like
peak
No
away
Diggity
from my
or some
build-up.
shit. I don't know. I was probably playing No Diggity because why not? Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's what I played. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a New Yorker. I love hip hop.
Mm. I mean, that's the other thing about sort of that rebelliousness of being ratchet, that ratchet rebelliousness, right? Is quite interesting when I look at sort of, this is kind of a difficult topic, actually. How am I going to approach that pissing people off? So there's a basic, there seems to be kind of like this weird, like experience in the UK with the diaspora, which is really working class, but in America it seems more middle class and more pronounced in terms of.
That's because the middle class and the privileged class are overrepresented here.
Yeah,
and they speak in this class clueless consciousness.
But it seems almost like a mocking, like not mocking, but it seems like sort of almost aspirationally ghetto in a way, which is really weird. I find.
Say more. I'm trying. What do you mean?
So, like, I'm gonna get into so much fucking trouble. So, basically, it seems that there's this in the States. There's a kind of a projection of what it is to be real, essentially,
right?
Within our communities, like there's this kind of like pretending to be ratchet or pretending to be ghetto, which is really at odds with the real experience that I've had over here, where people want to get the fuck out and just better themselves in a way. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain that.
Are you saying there's a sort of fetishism with working classness here that's not real?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, I think so. And a kind of sort of adopting a kind of gangsterism that is like you're not from that.
I don't know. I think I'm not sure about that. I don't know. What I experience here is a complete and utter lack of a cluelessness around class.
Okay.
/ caste, which is embedded in everything, even people who are woke here, who are desi.
Right.
An over-celebration of exceptionalism, of model minorityism, even when they're trying to be woke about it. A disregard of structural racism.
So it's that good immigrant.
It's like I feel like there's a couple of buckets. There's the, you know, everything South Asian is good, but that really translates to Indian, that really translates to Hindu. Then there's the
got it. Yeah.
Desis are racist because they don't understand, you know, Black communities, and that's like these are the opposite ends. And I think it's far more complicated than that. And that, you know, and the experience of an Indian American of growing up in a white suburb is a very privileged class experience, which is not. It's not my experience, and I think it disavows a lot of experience. There are a lot of working class South Asians here, of all kinds, you know, in New York as well. I mean, like, you know, I live in a Bangladeshi, Nepali Himalayan neighborhood, but it keeps getting touted as like Indian town, which is such a dated reference. So there's a lot of erasure. There's a lot of, you know, there's a deep history of people of South Asian origin living and working along other brown and black people. That does not get acknowledged enough.
You just don't fucking see it, basically.
You don't see it. You don't see it. And I also think that, now like was flipping, broadcast TV here, and there is a lot more, and not enough, of course, there's never enough there's a lot more South Asian representation on screen in characters. Some of them are not accented, some of them, but that's not true of other people of color. So what does that mean? Like, is privilege playing itself in a different way? We're getting into spaces, but we're not opening doors for other people. Like, what's that about?
That's fascinating. Maybe it's also projected, like shows like Never Have I Ever show you a middle class like lifestyle, but then
or upper middle class, I would argue. That's it's a very particular world, and it's got a lot of shit for it. Oh my God, you're like, blah blah blah. I believe in world building. It's a world. It's true to the world it's in. It doesn't have to. The lack of stories puts pressure on the stories that are out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that was the thing, is that looking at sort of British media that's brown, it's generally like, okay, I recognize that shithole house. I recognize that rubbish carpet. I recognize all the kind of tropes that come in. Whereas in America, I guess you got to speak to people that grew up with like Ferris Bueller or that middle class existence. And you've got to, like the Cosby Show, for example, or whatever, like that kind of aspirational family that has their shit together. You can then pick apart sort of that unique middle class American experience in whatever color they are. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, I think that's all a projection, and it's limited. And the Cosby Show is a particular kind of experience. It's not wrong. I mean, there are African American families that are part of a history of privilege and wealth that exists in this country that are also erased, that are part of, that have gone to like historically black universities that have, and that's what the Cosby Show depicted. And it was a very safe way to experience a certain kind of blackness for America. But, we also had, it was also coming from a place and a time where, crack was exploding in American cities and criminalization was up, and it was sort of like, a lot of awful things were happening at the same time, and it was almost like a diversion or an example of like,
the good immigrant, or the, like you said, that sort of ideal,
or the good black person, or the good whatever. I mean, I think that's always there, and it's a challenge.
I mean, I think I was equating all of that conversation back to music, because I remember what really shook me, for example, was again in that tour of the States that I played Mutiny at with you, was someone saying, "Oh, I guess your parents pay for everything and all this." I was like, "What? No, fuck no." Do you know what I mean? There's like a whole assumption of my lifestyle because I was brown in America, compared to what that meant over here.
Yeah, I mean, I meet those people too, and that's not my experience at all. Like, I started working when I was 11, Yeah, there's a very a wide range of experiences,
Totally.
For sure. And there is a lot of, there are a lot of wealthy immigrants here, but there are also a lot of not. And I had that shock of meeting really wealthy South Asians when I was in college. Like, I started meeting other folks from organizing work. Funnily enough, people who are drawn to those kinds of things, that was the first time I met very wealthy people that I just was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I didn't understand our history. I mean, I grew up in a very particular community. It was different. It was just a different experience.
And then, I mean, I think maybe I'm asking this out of awe, because you've still managed to be this person that connects all these disparate worlds together and still fly the flag for like the South Asian community in the States. And that's kind of,
do I?
Yeah, man. It's like
you.
you fucking, like, there's that scene when, like, I don't know whether you're like into like superheroes and shit, but there's this shot where Spider-Man's holding this fucking boat together, right? And it's ripping apart. And there's always this one entity in the middle holding shit together. And that seems to be quite a tough job, particularly when you've got, like you've just described, religion, class, caste, all this kind of shit that happens. That's pretty badass.
Hey, just living, you know, just want to be aware of it, you know, and just, I guess the motivation is just to, you know, I always say this, I love my people, I hate my people. You know?
It is that old archetype, man.
It's yeah, there's a little bit of that. I think, you know, what motivated me was being excited about music, wanting to put people on, being excited about, you know, community and wanting to do things, and coming from working in activist backgrounds and thinking about representation. I think where I grew up informed my thinking. When I grew up, all of that stuff, you know, it's what makes us who we are. It's like what we take with it. And then just fortunate in many ways as a young person to meet like-minded creative people and build community with them, I think is really important. You know, I think it's a lot easier now to do it. There's like so many, like, you know, you can DM somebody on a social media platform and potentially get connected. Like we didn't have that in the same way, but living in New York, there is a critical mass of South Asians here, you know?
Yeah.
And we are like, you know, there's a lot of schools here. There's a lot of people drawn here.
How do you balance all those differing views and activities? Actually, you know what? I really need to pee. So, I really, like, badly need to pee.
Man, guys can't hold it, can you? Seriously.
Can't. So, do you mind holding on for like 2 seconds?
No problem. What do you want me? You want me to just hang out here?
Yeah. Everyone ask some questions.
Did I check my emails?
Yeah.
What should I do? Okay. Anybody have a question? Anybody? What's up? Thanks, Nerm. Social media opened up a lot of connections. Yes, it did. Where are you guys watching in from? That's always a good question. If you are watching, where are you tuning in from? Let me know. I can't believe Nerm left me hanging like this, but I guess that's what happens.
I'm back. Hi.
You're like Chunky Pandey. He's always going to the bathroom. I watched that, suffer through that terrible show on Netflix.
I have
atrocious.
I have a bladder the size of a thimble. It's ridiculous. It also helps with sort of getting rid of all this energy. I just run to the loo and back.
I guess so. You know.
Hey, you got loads of Americans in here. That's wicked.
How do you know? I can't.
Like, I check the comments. There's like Britney's from
it's
Cincinnati.
not scrolling for me. Oh.
Packer 1031's from Chicago. Indie
well, I asked who's there, and I don't see it. It's not scrolling up for me.
Izuru's like Nerm and P-code. That's hilarious. If you scroll, like if you touch the bottom and then roll it up.
It did, and it's stuck at Indie Chick. Social media opened up a lot of connections. That's the last thing I see.
Huh. Hey, my Panda Show flies here. Big up, Seren. Ohio, Petersburg. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I can't see the comments. Sorry, people. I was not responding. It's frozen for me.
Well, thank you for bearing with my rubbish bladder. The question I was going to get to is that, again, with music and sort of with promoting and reaching like big audiences, the same in your activism work, right? There's certain different opinions, right, that I'm sure would piss you off and get your fucking back up. And you're like, yo, I can't be fucking dealing with this. But I'm going to get on with the work I need to do. Like, what's one of your coping mechanisms for dealing with so many different viewpoints? Or
what do you mean?
Like, you know, if you're in, you know, you're uniting people, you're building communities, and each of those communities will have differing opinions. In your activism work and in your work to hit the greater good, how do you cope with those? I think, like,
first of all, just to set it clear in terms of my activism work, I'm not a frontline activist by any means. My main activism work right now is I'm on the board of an organization which I support, which is Chaya CDC. I talk about it all the time. And I support what the work they do, and they are invested in, in bettering the lives of New Yorkers, South Asian, Indo-Caribbean, and all New Yorkers, actually. No one's turned away in terms of housing, economic empowerment, and like, it's a very New York-based social justice leaning organization, and I'm pretty invested in my neighborhood and what's around, especially New York City. So I think the guiding way is to find what rings true with you, and what other people do or don't do. It's like, it's pick and choose how much energy you want to put into that. I just, to yourself be true, and that's kind of how I work. And some of it is holding your nose despite it. Like, sometimes you have to look for the larger picture. Especially in the States with electoral politics, which gets a lot of shine, but a lot of the way our government is structured, so much happens on the local level. There's a lot of attention going to presidential campaigns and even statewide campaigns, which have a lot of impact. But local electoral politics really matters, and so I don't really I don't know. I don't really feel like I'm faced with those conflicting decisions. I support the things that I believe in.
Yeah, and
I go hard for them in the way I can. And in real ways that are concrete as much as possible. And the best way to support things is like resources and money, if you can, and getting other people who have those things to, be on your side. And that's the way I'm working. So whatever things I have that I can like support, that's what I do.
Fair play. I mean, I think maybe I get bogged down in sort of trying to not convince people of my beliefs or my own approach to things, but I guess there's sometimes when someone's when you're talking about, say, I don't know, like you meet someone that's talking about South Asian representation over here perhaps, and they come from a very conservative viewpoint, which is really rife in our community. You're like, yo, I'm quite an open-minded guy. I don't really dig what you're saying, but yet there's this commonality that you've got to try and work with that I find very difficult. So I guess I was, Yeah,
I mean, skin folk is not kinfolk, like.
I like that. That's like, fucking lyric. Right,
that's nothing I came up with, and it's true in all respects. Like, we may have some common backgrounds, but it doesn't mean our politics align.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it doesn't, and we have to evaluate that relationship for what it is. There's not, and I think a lot of this, you have to think a lot about energy. How much energy are you willing to put if people aren't getting it? It's like the labor of educating the ignorant. That's a lot, and that may not be the best way to do things. So really, I think everything is like situational.
I mean, there's something to be said for sticking to your guns. I mean, you obviously know this as a promoter in a big city, like doing parties.
Oh my God, I hate that word promoter so much.
Okay, fine. So it's like a fucking host or someone who's doing some shit.
Curator, just say curator.
Okay, but that's different. That's different though, because you have to do the fucking grunt work as well. Like,
I know promoter is just the greasiest word. No, I mean, I want to say, like, I get it.
So give me another word for promoter then, because in the UK I was just like, okay, fine, but in America I can see there's a little bit of a bottles kind of popping and fucking like attachment to that word, and table service kind of a whole other thing.
Yeah, well, that was never the kind of vibe I that the promoter is. It has the association where if the line is long, the price goes up,
Okay, that's not what I mean at all. No. So it's a transatlantic disconnect yet again. So can you give me another word? Because like, what I mean by that is that you give enough of a fuck about your idea of an event that you go out
of course, and you go all in. Yeah,
that's what
totally.
I mean. That's
totally. I mean, I would say producer, event producer, that works for me.
Yeah, I think that to me takes away the kind of street level fucking hustle you have to do. Okay, so let's think of, let's just say, okay, your night, your fucking events, just generally. Let's just keep it that right with it. But like doing that in a big city is really fucking hard. You know what I mean? Like making that like point consistently with that energy level is really fucking difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine in the way that the States is structured, it's obviously, you know, there's a whole load of capitalism, a whole load of events. The competition's quite fierce. You've got to make as much noise as you can. And I guess, like, how did you survive that long doing it for that long? Because
I have no idea.
Right. Because I'm
No
fucking
idea.
exhausted. And
I have no idea. And the question is, did I really survive it? Like, I don't know. Like, it took the life out of me,
like
man.
20 years of basement bungers is fucking impressive.
I wonder, I don't know. I mean, okay, I hope I'm still, I don't know, I'm still getting WhatsApp messages. How did I survive it? I have no idea. I just kept doing it and did it like, you know, my whole thing is like, as long as people come and then I don't get sick of it. And it does take a toll on you. I think it took a toll on me. I absolutely think it took a toll on me in so many ways. You know, I think we provided a space for a certain kind of expression, a certain kind of, you know, that was important. And it ended on a very high note. There were ups and downs. It ended on a super high note. Basement Bunger did anyway, and so did Mutiny. But you know, it's hard to say. I don't really know. Who knows? I don't know.
Just fucking head down and charge. Just fucking go for it. I
just did it, and I just fucking did it.
Yeah.
You know, I did it, and other opportunities came along the way, which were great. And when I stopped it, I went to school to learn some other shit, and now I'm back, and then this pandemic happened.
I didn't know that. What did you, do you mind telling me what you studied? Or
no, I went to, I did a master's in comparative media studies.
That's fucking useful, considering what's
Is
happening
it though?
with the world.
I don't know if it's that useful. Got to read a lot of cool shit. Yeah. Got to meet some dope people.
Because I think
and it was the first time so I moved here when I was almost 5 to New York. And in that many years, I had not ever left New York for more than 30 days.
Really?
So I traveled, London, India.
I was going to say, I've gotten drunk in front of you a lot of places over the time.
But I'm always like first Thursday.
Oh, right? You have to get back to your fucking gig. Oh, I see.
Always got to be back. Like, I've never missed a gig, right?
Really?
One time I missed a gig early on, but like, still never more than 30 days.
Wow, I never knew that. Fuck.
And then I go to grad school, and I'm like leaving town. I go to a different city for 2 years, even though I came back, but I did longer stretches. So that was I moved to Cambridge, Boston, outside of Boston.
Right.
And that was a trip. And that was it made me, you know, everyone knew I was a New Yorker. I didn't hide it. And it was really weird.
We all know that's bollocks because you're from fucking Hounslow, so come on. But I'm joking.
Yeah. I mean, I stayed in London for a clip. I rented a room once just to get away from here. Because at the end of the millennium, the tickets were so cheap.
Right.
I don't know if you remember. They were like $200 tickets to London. Virgin and BA were competing, and this was before the 9/11 tax.
Yeah.
And I decided that I was going to live in London for like 2 months or something.
I remember meeting you.
At maybe I was out. I was out a bit, and then of course, while I did that, I got offered a party at Joe's Pub. So
right.
It's like, all right, I'll just come back in between. It's like I couldn't commit to that.
But what a life, man!
I lived in Shepherd's Bush.
Really?
I lived in Shepherd's Bush for like 2 months with like coming back and forth to New York in a weird way. It wasn't. Yeah, so I still was not out of New York for more than 30 days.
What's the flight time? Like 8 hours from London to New York, or 6?
No, it's 6 one way and 7 the other.
Right, because my commute to Bombay was like
9 hours, right?
Yeah. But it varied depending on wind speed and all that kind of shit. But yeah.
India's a commitment. Like for us, it's
you have to do 2 stops, right? It's quite a leap.
Well, they're non-stop flights now, 14 hours, which is like, yeah. I mean, but I ain't getting on a plane anytime soon.
You know what?
I deleted all my air. I'm like, yo, no.
I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, fuck, I used to moan about being fucked up at an airport in transit. And I used to like a lot of my Instagram posts were just about me. Like, I want to sleep. I want a flatbed. I want to eat some food that isn't fucking from, and I'm just like, I really miss it. I really miss that feeling of being fucked up in transit between gigs. Like,
I don't know if I miss it that much. I have some definite, it's like amazing that I've like managed to get home and like, how did I do it's like, I had a whole routine. I used to play in DC a lot and I love the train. So I would just like, I would like often stay the night, but then there were a lot of times where, and DC's club closed a little bit early, I would do the gig, close it down, go out to eat, and get to the train station and wait an hour and a half for the first train. Because I'm like, this will be painful, but I'll wake up at home.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. That's the goal, right? It's like, you just want to get home as fast as possible. Like, you're not just trying to hang out. It's like, there were so many weekends where I would do basement, bring my luggage, take the first flight out, fly to whatever city, maybe fly to 2 cities, Friday, Saturday, and then just come home Sunday, order the food on the way home from the airport, like have a routine, know exactly how to time the delivery, the next day, I want the noodles, or do I want to go to brunch at the local spot and get grits and eggs, or whatever. Yeah, you have the routines, and I don't tour as much, so it doesn't, because I took a break I went to school, so my gigging went down,
That's quite fascinating, because I had a similar kind of break from touring last year. No, yeah, the year before. So 2019, I had a big operation on my leg.
Sorry about that.
It's cool. It's fucking attached. But I sort of did this big thing in India, and then got back here in April, via LA in May, and then went to LA in May, and then got back, and then I was like, right, I've got to prep for this operation. And so that kind of like recovery and isolation was prep for fucking coronavirus. You know what I mean? I was just like, and I was just like, yo, this isn't too bad, man. Do you know what I mean? And there was, I think we threw the last gig, the big sort of party we did was in March last year.
In India or in UK? In
the UK. It was like this. I sort of revived one of my club nights for one night, because I think Shruti Hassan was in town, so I was helping her with some musical stuff that wasn't Bollywood. It's very much like Tori Amos and Trent Reznor combined. So it's like well up my street, So
I want to hear that.
It's fucking sick. I'll send you some links. It's fucking sick.
Yeah, send me.
And then
people always send music. DJs always want music. Just send.
Oh, I have some things. I'll come back to that actually. And then I managed to convince Anushka Shankar to play, and then Riz Ahmed to do a spoken. It was like all.
You got all the peoples,
all the crew in this fucking pub in East London. It was wicked, and it was a proper
Those
pub.
are the best nights.
Yeah, and that was in March last year. Hey, big up Vandana. Yeah, Vandana's in the house next New York.
Damn it, I can't see anyone. It's stuck for me.
Big up Hit then. I'll do the shout. Don't you worry. I get it from your mama. No, from my mama. Okay, fine. You get it from my mama.
Yeah, I can't see it. Stuck on social media. Opened up a lot of connections.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, anyway, sorry, going back to the whole thing I was on about was that sort of stepping away from touring life to heal was kind of prep for this. So I'm guessing that with education or reassessing that, you don't miss touring as much because you're already stepped away from it.
I guess I toured a lot intermittently. I never was on I was on the Endless tour. It wasn't very organized. It was always like a gig here, a gig there.
Yeah.
And there was a time when I put my record out where I was like every weekend there was a gig. But I think the break I got was not producing the events.
Right. But that's it. That's entirely it. And I guess studying as well.
Sometimes I think I'm like, oh man, it's the first Thursday and it's 9:30 and I'm waiting for the crossword to go live, the New York Times, and I'm going to go to bed in about a half an hour. This is so weird. At Basement, like we were not even beginning. The party didn't pop till we weren't playing the good shit till 12:30 on a Thursday.
Yeah, but that's it. Again, I think that one thing that I love and admire about you is that there's a lot of sort of shared experiences, even though they're transatlantic. So, like the night we revived was called Supersonic Buddha, so we do it on a Sunday, and you're just reminding me.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so we revived that for one night last year, but then when I first got on the BBC. I had to do my show from Birmingham, which is my hometown. and I live in London.
What is it called? Postbox? What is that place?
The mailbox. The
mailbox.
Yeah. So
yeah.
for fuck's sake, for a year I had to commute from fucking London to Birmingham to do this show, and then miss the last train back, so I'd lose the Friday night and Saturday to get back. And when I first started doing that, like with anything new, it takes up your whole life, so you're kind of figuring out and you're fucked. I completely forgot when I'd have nights. So thankfully I had like my crew around, like Decode or Gunal or whoever, to go, dude, we've got Supersonic Buddha this week. Oh fuck! And I woke up in Birmingham just like, oh shit, I have to get back. And it was much more panic for me than a regularity. It was like, oh fuck, I've completely lost my timetable.
I've definitely gone. It hasn't happened often, but I've definitely gone to the wrong airport a couple of times. We've all done that, right? I did it in SF one time. My God, I went to Oakland instead of SF or some shit like that. I can't remember, because like a lot of times with SF, you know, you get the Portland gig, the Seattle. It's like a little like, you know, these little flights. I've definitely done. Oh, I'm going to Belize. So obviously it's JFK. No, it's a local flight to Miami, and then you go to Belize. Duh. Shit like that.
See, I miss all of that shit now. I used to fucking hate it.
You miss all of that mayhem?
I used to hate it. Yeah, completely. Like I was just sort of, you know, I have this, I'm oddly written word. Like I'm a big fan of pencils and notebooks and shit. So my diary is like digital as well as physical. Hey,
man.
Let's do some garba. Yeah.
This is. I am fanatical about writing instruments and paper and books.
Same.
Yeah.
And I look back at last year's diary. I'm like, fuck it. So this year started up again. And I've got this tour list of packing shit that I have, and I'm just like, I really, really, really want to run around this house and panic about losing a cable and trying to find it to go on tour again. Such stupid shit, right? Just shit you used to hate that I now miss.
I remember one time I was in, I think it was Ottawa or somewhere in Canada. It was definitely French-speaking Canada. I think it was Ottawa, maybe. And I don't know why, I didn't have a fucking USB cable. And the whole sound crew, they were all speaking French. They're like, I'm like, yo. And I had to run somewhere to some store last minute to find a fucking USB cable. Now I have enough USB cables, of course, in life to like, you know, crochet a scarf or a blanket. But you can't hook up your Serato without it, right? So I was like, yeah, that shit.
Dude, now I'm looking at people with like single USB keys. I'm like, motherfucker.
The thought of DJing off of a USB stick is so terrifying to me. Bobby did it. Bobby came here. We had him here a few years ago. We did a show with the Caminos, and he just put a little, you know. I'm like, I'm gonna be the last. I'm gonna be the last adopt. That's too. I need to. I'm like when I converted to Serato, I missed this a lot. Yeah. And now we're doing this.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
To do that, I don't know if I could do that.
That's the thing. I think that the one thing, like, so I started on cassettes, right? So trying to get the right position of a track on a vinyl was like, whoa, because like trying to like reel through cassettes because we were poor as fuck, and then discovering a crossfader was like, whoa. And then now that like typing in the name of a track and having it magically come to my hand is like crate digging, but like a magic spell.
But it's
I
different.
can just call this up. Yeah, totally. It's a bit like now, of course, I've got like a laptop with thousands and thousands of tracks, and I'm sat there and like, what was I thinking? Whereas like flicking through a record, you'd have this big fucking picture that would remind you of what
you have visual cues. And even with CDs, like a lot of the music I had wasn't on vinyl. It was like, you know, you had the wallets and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, you have to, I mean, the medium is constantly changing.
Or the rough approximation in your wallet where you know it might be. You're like, it's got to be in the
I mean, you kind of know it. But at the end of the drunken night, I would have like all the CDs not necessarily put back where they should have been.
Hey, big up Shah Jahan from the Caminos. We just shouted the Caminos. Yes.
Damn it. Okay, this is like, it's really...
Can you not see?
I'm telling you, it's not scrolling for me. I can't see anybody that's rolling up.
Well, Shah Jahan says his life is complete seeing us together. I'm like, bruv, come out with us, and then
He
it's a
is the
different story.
best.
You know what I
He
mean?
is the best. And he is one of the people that saved me in Cambridge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Shah Jahan was like, we had these weekly hangs at this dhaba, Punjabi dhaba, and
Nice.
Shah Jahan like helped build a bed for me. Like just endless,
Wow.
endless brotherdom. Yeah.
We get on our chats and talk about our Lego builds.
Lego? Well, he was great. I mean,
So that explains the bed building skills, is my point.
Oh, he's got skills. The man has many skills.
Actually,
many
speaking
skills.
of which, I showed this off last week, but I've got to show this off again. Check this shit out. You know First Ave, right?
Yeah. Of course I've been. Oh, wow. That. Is that a Lego First Ave?
Yeah. And look at the
That's
Prince
awesome.
Star and shit.
Oh, yeah. I've got a picture of me behind, you know. Yeah. I've done the requisite.
Yatra.
You know. I have the tour book from Prince and Revolution Purple Rain Tour.
No way.
Because I went to it.
Yeah. Fuck off. No way.
I might have the stub somewhere, and on the ticket it says, wear something purple. And I was a dork. I had a purple sweater that had like strawberries on it, but it was purple.
I mean, strawberries, I was trying to think, it's raspberry.
It was just like, it was the only purple thing I had, but I remember I wore that to the concert.
That's so fucking cool. Where was that? In New York?
Nassau Coliseum in New York. And I had such a cool school, me and my friend.
Hey,
it wasn't for that concert. It was a different concert.
Sorry, Rekha. Sorry. Tanuja's just popped up and I was like, yay, got excited.
I remember in high school, so that was in junior high. We definitely in high school, me and my friend Joe Bradshaw, we got out of class and were in the office at school calling to get Prince tickets because our assistant principal co-signed. That's the kind of school I went to. That's
fucking cool.
And then we were really close, and at some point, like she touched his boot or something. It was very. I remember we relived that moment when he passed away. Of course, it's so fucking terrible. It's just, I still can't, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think we threw a gig, a Prince tribute gig in London, that I think 2 weeks after he passed, which was really fucking nice. So Bobby played.
Bobby's a very famous Prince fan.
Yeah, and then another guy called Atomic Hooligan, who's a breakbeat DJ, who's like a massive Prince fan. And it wasn't about us, obviously. It was just like a fucking public mourning, almost.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Spike Lee's block party. I mean, Brooklyn was out. We were it was really, it was intense. I went to a couple of things where people were just playing his music, and it was. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got into Prince. He got on my radar with Purple Rain, and then I started digging into the back catalog, and you know, Controversy and all the older albums were so great.
Yeah, I think for me, and
the B-sides and buying the singles were important because the B-sides were so great.
Like I said, I think with that whole sort of overtly masculine world I grew up in, particularly in Birmingham, like hearing If I Was Your Girlfriend for the first time, I was like, yo, what the fuck? What is this? This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like I think the political side and growing up under Reagan, all that Ronnie Talked to Russia, and you know, even Controversy, and the 1999 album, and then when I remember when Paisley Park came out, and even that had political undertones, and then Sign of the Times is just I think
Paisley Park's From Around the World in a Day, So America was on that track, which was like almost a bit like Born in the USA, kind of like an anthemic American thing, but also very aware of what the problems were.
Yeah.
Which was fascinating. And I think
you know, it's interesting when you know an artist deeply, you're not necessarily taken by the hits.
Yeah.
Because the catalog is so much, like, I'm not a fan of Raspberry Beret, you know? And if you think about, I'm just not.
But you know, there's a whole story behind that, right? So you know Pavan from Foreign Beggars?
Yeah.
Right, so his surname is Mookie. So the lyrics, I was working part-time in a five and dime. My boss was Mr. Mookie. So his mom told him when he was a kid that the song was about his dad.
Well, it's not Mookie. His name was Mr. McGee.
Mookie, yeah, McGee, yeah.
McGee.
I know that. Just piss all over my
right, but that's close enough. That's close enough. No, but I mean, you know, Anyway, his album, like if you think of Kiss, right, which is probably one of his most famous songs, that album Under the Cherry Moon is so sick.
Have you heard the offcuts of that?
Yeah, definitely.
There's evil here amongst us, or no, there are dark ones here amongst us. There's so many dark sort of experimental tracks that didn't make the album.
Well, that was also the time when the Black Album was kicking around, and
yeah,
and also like just buying, even with Paisley Park. I mean, Around the World in a Day. The B-sides of all those songs, like She's Always in My Hair.
One of the best. It's my ringtone, by the way. That is actually.
I love that song so much.
It's amazing. But I think that's it. I think for me, like I said, having like growing up in Birmingham without anyone that I could connect to or even relate to, I was like, here's a beige motherfucker who's wearing or whatever the fuck he wants and can appeal to something that isn't overtly fucking like macho. Do you know what I mean? It was just like,
definitely. It's presenting another possibility.
Yeah, and I was just like, yo, they're, like in terms of creative figureheads, and that's probably why it impacted me so much. Because I was like, yo, there's someone that can buck the trends and look like that.
I mean, was Bowie and Iggy? I guess they're just the color, right?
I think,
like Bowie's definitely playing with gender, but in a different way.
But I think that's the thing is that I, like in Birmingham at that point, I was into metal, so everyone was white anyway. So discovering Living Colour was another fucking thing. I was like, whoa.
Oh, Living Colour. I mean, Vernon is, Vernon played at Mutiny.
No fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I've got? Actually,
he did something with Sufala. Yeah.
So I've got to pull this up now. Now we're going deep. My first record signing when I was like 15 was Living Colour when the album Stain came out. And I was fucking obsessed with them because I was like, a black rock band. What the fuck is this? Because obviously.
Well, there's a whole history of the Black Rock Coalition in New York.
Right. But wait, I
mean, Afro-punk actually comes out of that tradition.
Sure, but as a 15-year-old, I didn't know any of this.
No,
right?
no,
so
of
I was just like,
course. No, that shit was so bad. Man. I mean, Living Colour was everything.
Where is this? So I went to this record signing in Virgin Records in Birmingham, of all fucking places. And Living Colour were there, and they had a single from the album Stain, and the B-side was 17 Days, which was them covering Prince's 17 Days, which was just fucking amazing.
That song is so great too. That's a B-side of
When Doves Cry.
B-side of Purple Rain, or When Doves Cry.
When Doves Cry.
Yeah, and then Erotic City is the B-side of, was it Erotic City is the B-side.
Dearly Beloved, Let's Go Crazy is the Erotic City.
Yeah, it's a B-side.
Yeah. I can't find it right now. But anyway, they signed it, and this was my first ever blag, right? So as a promoter in the UK term, as a club night, or someone that enjoys nightlife, blagging is essential. And blagging, you know what that means.
What is blagging? No.
Right, so blagging is like bullshitting your way into a club.
Okay.
Like you're just talking your way into shit. And I was like 15. And I was like, fuck, and I was piss poor, had no money at all. And I went to a record signing in Virgin Records in the record store in Birmingham, met Living Colour, and I was like, fucking black rock fan, what the fuck is this? Like, super excited. And I saw this dude who was like short, wearing a big sort of oversized long sleeve t-shirt with that whole sort of torture cage that was their symbol at the time with a bunch of lanyards. And I was wearing my school uniform. I was like, look, I really want to come to the gig tonight, but I can't because I'm underage. And he put me on the guest list. And so I went to that gig, which was my first ever fucking blag at 15 to see Living Colour, which was like
dope.
So much.
My first concert was Michael Jackson.
That's pretty fucking gangster.
Yeah. I was obsessed.
But so Vernon played Mutiny.
Well, he did. Yeah, him and Sufala did something together. I mean, Vernon is a New York dude. Like, he's very. We have mutual musical friends and connections.
That's awesome.
So I mean, it's like being in a small world. It's kind of like for those of us here who like look to drum and bass, and if we say like, oh, Fabio or somebody like that, and it's like that's no big thing because they did a weekly night and you probably know them or whatever, and like for us it's like, ooh, it's looms large or Goldie or whatever, that's the whole like thing around it.
Actually, that's a good point. I was thinking back to Mutiny and the music that was playing, and the kind of how reinterpretation in America seems to have changed. So the UK is really good at absorbing different types of music, remixing it, and spitting it back out. And I think the US has really caught on to that in a massive way, like absorbing, like particularly would say, what's the genre? I don't want to get it wrong, but that the evolution of hip hop. Like, there's a lot of UK vibes being absorbed by the US and being spat back out now.
What do you mean, grime?
Not even grime. I was thinking like post trap, like maybe like drill stuff from over here.
Drill, dub, like.
Yeah, I mean dubstep
not
for
dubstep,
sure. Well,
dubstep
for sure. Before that, like dubstep came along, and kicked everyone's ass, and then everyone ramped up their bass and their fucking resonance. You know. But yeah, definitely like the drill production for sure right now.
Yeah, definitely.
There's this whole.
No, I mean, I think a lot of the technology made some of that stuff a lot easier. You know, Ableton, warping, being able to, you know, just produce in a different kind of way. Definitely opened the floodgates to different possibilities. But Nerm, just doing a time check here.
Oh shit, we're over an hour. All right, my love. I apologize
I gotta
for taking
wrap
you
it
over.
up.
Thank
This was
you.
great. I hope I'll have to look back and see who commented what.
If the scrolling works. Well, look, Rekha, thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me. It was great to catch up and to relive.
Yeah.
Relive them days in the 2000s.
Them days. And I need to pee again anyway, so thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Now you've reminded my
bladder.
bladder.
For the first time. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right,
all
take
right,
care.
good.
Thank you. See you in a
Thank
bit.
you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.